Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Welcome to class number 7 of the Krishna Book. We're on chapter 15. Just finished Brahma's prayers, and we'll start with some kirtan.
Okay, let's come into our comfortable seats. Roll out your neck, your shoulders, open and close your mouth a few times. Let's take a collective breath, just clearing anything that may be inhibiting us from being fully present now in Sangha and hearing this transcendental sound vibration in Kirtan and in Shastra. Take a deep breath in, fill up. Exhale, clear it out. Our opening prayers. Inhale, filling up. Exhale, we offer out. Om Vijnanatmarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanchakopatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Bhavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna
Omagyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shrakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, Premanande Hare Om. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we had some nice reflections in WhatsApp this week. Apparently I wasn't even close to the only one inspired by Brahma's humility, Krishna's mercy, and what else? Yeah, just that there was some nice comments in there about how where Brahma was trying to control and he overstepped himself, but like I'm doing that all the time, right? I'm not Brahma. I'm not like such an empowered person. But we're all, that's like our material symptom. You know, that's what we're trying to be, the owner and controller, I and mine. But we see how Krishna deals with his devotee. And when the overstepping is there. And there's also some nice reflections about how Krishna really, I think it was in the context that Krishna didn't want his friends to get up. He was like, no, I got this. I'll take care of the cows. You guys just sit and eat. He was like just so interested his devotees to be served. I mean, think about it, right? Krishna is Krishna, but he's just like, no, I want you guys to eat. I'll go take care of this. So, let's have a little bit of reflection from what we heard or discussed or listened, and we'll get into chapter 15. Yeah.
So part of what I want to say with something actually that you said is like how Brahma is like, I thought I was a controller of the universe, but really you are.
Mm.
And it made me think about like how in control I feel, like how I think I feel most of the time, like in the house, in the doing whatever I'm doing. But it's like, I'm not really in control. Like, I need to just take a step back and like, I'm not in control of anything. Like, that's just silly. But another thing was like how Brahma was like, if I could just come back as a blade of grass for devotees to walk on me, or like the dust so I can be on devotees' feet. Like to want to strive for that, to be a speck of dust. That's pretty spectacular. And that's like what I've been meditating on.
Yeah, a speck of dust in Vrindavan. He was so amazed at how the little boy who he didn't understand who he was is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, reciprocating personally and very intimately, and really without cessation, all day and all night with his friends and girlfriends and parents and everybody. And Brahma was just flabbergasted at that intimacy and connection. And here he is feeling like an intruder. And then so towards the end of his prayers, he said, actually, yeah, I would really love to just be under them and receive their mercy because they're the real devotees here. So yeah, thank you. Sundarananda.
Hare Krishna, Samit Prabhu. I just wanted to say that if Brahma could be bewildered, I was thinking that being the supreme architect and controller of this universe, anyone, anytime could actually be thrown off like derail basically, if we don't try to take shelter of the whole process, devotees and everything else that we know keeps us safe, and the opposite of being bewildered. So I guess it's just a lesson for me personally to always to never basically underestimate the power of Maya, is what I took away from that.
Yeah, I think about that too sometimes. That Brahma is like the most maturely qualified person in the universe, with no exception. If you want to go higher than him, you're not talking about a jiva anymore. You're talking about like Lord Shiva or an expansion of Krishna. So he actually says in that chapter, Brahma does, "My dear Lord, people may say that I'm the master of all Vedic knowledge and I'm supposed to be the creator of this universe, but it's been proved now that I cannot understand you. who are present before me just like a child. So it's a beautiful reminder that there's never going to be a point at which that's correct, that I got him. Actually, like I got my arms around him, I got my brain around him, I can wrap my mind around him. It's like never going to happen. It doesn't happen for anybody. That's just the whole idea of trying to do that is just it's just a material paradigm. But when somebody's in the devotional mood, like Brahma drops it. He just drops the attempt to do that. And he advises us to do the same. But don't even try to figure them out. Just engage in hearing and chanting. And all the residents of Vrindavan weren't sitting there like, you know, trying to like speculate and I think is like this. No, they're just serving. So that contrast between the whole I got this, I'm powerful, figure them out thing and the world of bhakti. And it's so relevant all the time because if we're not actually in that place of trying to be of service, then we must be in the other place in one shape or form or another. Yeah.
I think I shared in class like how I felt like it brought hope, knowing similar to as Prabhu just said, it's like, oh, that happens to Brahma,
Yeah.
right? There's hope for me. It's okay. Not that I want to continue to try to control and
Right.
such, but that there is grace.
There's
for it.
precedence.
Yeah. And
It's
that,
not unexpected.
right. And that there's inspiration to overcome. And then there's also just like comfort in knowing or like that even when we do that, Krishna's there to
Yeah.
take care of us, whether we're the ones that are in the cave or whether we're the ones thinking that we hid someone in the cave, or either way, Krishna isn't condemning or humiliating or in this story at least
Yeah.
either party. And it was reminding me of, and we were talking about, it was in the stage together too, Christine and I, about I mentioned like Indra. It also reminds me a little bit of Indra, who as a demigod is continuously like sort of being humiliated, or his pride is being
It's going to come up in a few chapters again. Overdone.
Right.
But they're devotees. And so Krishna accommodates. He makes it work. That's yeah, I like that point you made, that whether you're in the situation of being stolen away, Krishna's got to save you, or you're in the position of trying to like trick Krishna and Krishna's got to humble you. One way or another, he's reconciling everything. He's reconciling all the different energies, like everything, up, down, left, right, hard, fast, slow, weak, everything is just getting reconciled in him. Somehow magically, he just makes it all work. And he's giving liberation to the demons. He's revealing himself to the devotees and purifying them of their false ego. He's serving his friends. He's purifying all of us with the things that happened 5,000 years ago on the planet. He's like amazing the demigods. He's blowing his friends' minds. He's giving everyone something to sing about. So it's like somehow he's reconciling everything. Thank you. Any more reflections before we dive into chapter 15? Okay. You're all eager to hear. Let's do it.
Let's read the thing.
Oh yeah. The what's it called? Invocation. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Ahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Ahima. Krishna Book Jai. Chapter 15, the killing of Dhenukasura. In this way, Sri Krishna, along with his elder brother Balarama, passed the childhood age known as Kaumara and stepped into the age of Pauganda from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows in the pasturing ground. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full with flowers, vegetation, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee, and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet-smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna with his friends and Balaram entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground, as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balaram as follows. My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into the stationary condition of life, but now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. Generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the bodies of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme and original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting at every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordship, and they are disguising themselves in the form of drones because they are unable to give up your company even for a moment. My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that of the gopis, are welcoming you with the same affection, and the cuckoos who are residing in this forest are welcoming you with their joyful, sweet cries because they consider that your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Even though they are trees and animals, these residents of Vrindavan are glorifying you. They are prepared to welcome you to the best of their ability, as is the practice of great souls in receiving another great soul at home. As for the land, it is so pious and fortunate because the footprints of your lotus feet are marking its body. Yes.
Can you explain what a drone is?
I think in this context, it means a bee. Drone is what you call a male bee.
So is that where modern day drones come from? Because they fly above?
I guess.
Are there drones here?
They were called drones. The bee, because the male bees produce like a slightly different buzzing sound because their anatomy is a little different.
Okay.
More of a drone. But I think Prabhupada is referring in this way that because he said they're bees buzzing around Balaram. Krishna is glorifying Balaram. And he's saying, oh, you're so amazing. These are your devotees taking birth again to glorify you with their buzzing. And he's talking about drone in that sense, I think. My dad used to keep bees, so and that's where I know with drones. You see a lot of them in Vrindavan in these pastimes here.
It is quite natural.
It is quite natural for these Vrindavan inhabitants to thus receive a great personality like you. The herbs, creepers, and plants are also so fortunate to touch your lotus feet. And by your touching the twigs with your fingernails, these small plants are also made glorious. As for the hills and the rivers, they too are now glorious because you were glancing at them. Above all, the damsels of Vraja, the gopis, are the most glorious because you embrace them with your strong arms, being attracted by their beauty. In this way, Lord Krishna and Balaram began to enjoy the residents of Vrindavan to their full satisfaction as they herded calves and cows on the bank of the Yamuna. In some places, Krishna and Balaram were accompanied by their friends. The boys were singing, imitating the humming sound of the drones, and accompanying Krishna and Balaram were garlanded with forest flowers. While walking, the boys sometimes imitated the quacking sound of the swans in the lakes, or when they saw the peacocks dancing, they imitated them before Krishna. Krishna also moved his neck, imitating the dancing and making his friends laugh.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So Balaram is an expansion of Krishna.
He's the first expansion.
So Krishna is speaking basically to himself in another form as the personality of Godhead. So it's almost like, I mean, I'm going to say it's like sweet. It's cute because it's like it's almost like he's talking to himself, but he's talking to his brother, who is him. Is that tracking?
There's a certain sweetness to it. All the expansions of Krishna, starting from Balaram, have their own unique perspective. So there's a non-difference because they're all expansions of Krishna, but there is a difference. Because Krishna is so potent that he actually expands other forms that are also God. Balaram is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this way. So Balaram has his own unique experience of the Leela. It's not like Krishna is talking to himself and he's hearing himself and there's no difference. He's talking to Balaram, but he knows. He knows who Balaram is. But again, Krishna's personality and Krishna's nature is to give all credit to everyone else. So here he's glorifying his own brother, who's his first expansion. The relationship between Krishna and Balaram is very interesting and very sweet. It's described that, for example, in Rama's Leela, Lord Ramachandra, he has several brothers, and his closest brother is Lakshman. And in those pastimes, Rama's pastimes are characterized by very carefully following the rules of Dharma. He's the ideal son, the perfect husband, the perfect ruler. And as such, he has to deal with a lot of suffering. He takes on the austerity of going to the forest for so many years. Sita comes, Lakshmana comes. And it's described, I'm trying to remember where it's described. But Balaram is Lakshmana in Ram's Leela. Krishna is Rama. But Balaram said in Rama's pastimes, because Lakshmana was the junior brother, he had to serve Rama and he had to follow that mood of Rama's desire to be austere and put up with all this suffering. And he didn't like that. Didn't make him very happy. Balaram, Lakshmana. So he said in Krishna's pastimes, he appeared as the older brother. And as the older brother, he's in charge, you know? And that it's described that in that way, he could make sure that Krishna could enjoy nicely without any interruption, without any problem. So they have a very intimate relationship of Balaram is actually the first expansion, the first manifestation of Godhead. And he's just like Krishna, except he has a very strong service attitude to Krishna. And from Balaram expands other forms of the Lord and also expands ultimately all of us, all the living entities. And Balaram is therefore the beginning of what's called Guru Tattva. He's the first teacher of how to actually serve Krishna because he's the first servant of Krishna, even though he's actually a form of Godhead himself. And although he's serving Krishna all the time, now Krishna's turned the tables and glorifying him. We see that in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes too. At one point, Lord Chaitanya pauses everything and just glorifies Nityananda and has everybody perform Guru Puja Nityananda, who is Balaram. Nityananda is Balaram, and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and Mahaprabhu is Krishna. Continuing. The cows taken care of by Krishna had different names, and Krishna would call them with love. After hearing Krishna calling, the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and the boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. They would all imitate the sound vibrations made by the different kinds of birds, especially the chakoras, peacocks, cuckoos, and bhardvajas. Sometimes, when they would see the weaker animals fleeing out of fear of the sounds of tigers and lions, the boys, along with Krishna and Balaram, would imitate the animals and run away with them. When they felt some fatigue, they would sit down, and Balaram would put his head on the lap of one of the boys just to take rest, and Krishna would immediately come and begin massaging the legs of Balaram. And sometimes Krishna would take a palm fan and fan the body of Balaram, causing a pleasing breeze to relieve him of his fatigue. Other boys would sometimes dance or sing while Balaram took rest, and sometimes they would wrestle among themselves or jump. When the boys were thus engaged, Krishna would immediately join them, and catching their hands, he would enjoy their company and laugh and praise their activities. When Krishna would feel tired and fatigued, he would sometimes take shelter of the root of a big tree or the lap of a cowherd boy and lie down. When he would lie down with a boy or a root as his pillow, some of the boys would come and massage his legs, and some would fan his body with a fan made from leaves. Some of the more talented boys would sing in very sweet voices to please him. Thus, very soon his fatigue would go away. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whose legs are tended by the goddess of fortune, shared himself with the cowherd boys as one of them, expanding his internal potency to appear exactly like a village boy. But despite his appearing just like a village boy, There were occasions when he proved himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes men pose themselves as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and cheat innocent people, but they can only cheat. They cannot exhibit the potency of God. While Krishna was thus engaged in his transcendental pastimes, exhibiting his internal potency in the company of the supermost fortunate cowherd boys, there occurred another chance for him to exhibit the superhuman powers of Godhead. His most intimate friends, Sri Dama, Subala, and Stoka Krishna, addressed Krishna and Balaram with great love and affection thus. Dear Balaram, you are very powerful, your arms are very strong. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. Will you kindly note that just near this place there is a big forest of the name Talavana? This forest is full of palm trees, and all the trees are filled with fruits. Some have fallen down, and some of them are very ripe, even in the trees. It is a very nice place, but because of a great demon, Dhenukasura, it is very difficult to go there. No one can reach the trees to collect the fruits. Dear Krishna and Balaram, this demon is present there in the form of an ass, a donkey, Shrek demon.
Shrek demon. Okay.
Where am I? And he is surrounded by similar demon friends who have assumed the same shape. All of them are very strong, so it is very difficult to approach this place. Dear brothers, you are the only persons who can kill such demons. Other than you, no one can go there for fear of being killed. Not even animals go there, and no birds are living there. They have all left. One can only appreciate the sweet aroma that is coming from that place. It appears that, up until now, no one has tasted the sweet fruits there, either on the tree or on the ground. Dear Krishna, to tell you frankly, we are very attracted by this sweet aroma. Dear Balaram, if you like, let us all go there and enjoy these fruits. The aroma of the fruits is now spread everywhere. Don't you smell it from here? When Balaram and Krishna were thus petitioned by their intimate friends, they were inclined to please them, and with smiling faces they proceeded toward the forest, surrounded by all their friends. Immediately upon entering the Talavana, Balarama began to yank the trees with his arms, exhibiting the strength of an elephant. Because of this jerking, all the ripe fruits fell down on the ground. Upon hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the demon Dhenukasura, who was living there in the form of an ass, approached with great force, shaking the whole field so that all the trees moved as if there were an earthquake. The demon appeared before Balaram and kicked his chest with his hind legs. At first Balaram did not say anything, but with great anger the demon kicked him again, more vehemently. This time Balaram immediately caught hold of the legs of the ass with one hand, and wheeling him around, threw him into the treetops. While he was being wheeled around by Balarama, the demon lost his life. Balaram threw the demon into the biggest palm tree about, and the demon's body was so heavy that the palm tree fell upon other trees, and several fell down. It appeared as if a great hurricane was passing through the forest, and all the trees were falling down one after another. It's like dominoes. This exhibition of extraordinary strength is not astonishing because Balaram is the personality of Godhead known as Ananta Sheshanaga, who is holding all the planets on the hoods of his millions of heads. He maintains the whole cosmic manifestation exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth. After the demon had been thrown into the trees, all the friends and associates of Dhenukasura immediately assembled and attacked Balaram and Krishna with great force. They were determined to retaliate and avenge the death of their friend. But Krishna and Balaram caught each of the asses by the hind legs and exactly in the same way wheeled them around. Thus they killed all of them and threw them into the palm trees. Because of the dead bodies of the asses, there was a panoramic scene. It appeared as if clouds of various colors were assembled in the trees. Hearing of this great incident, the demigods from the higher planets showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram and beat their drums and offered devotional prayers. A few days after the killing of Dhenukasura, people began to come into the Talavana forest to collect the fruits, and animals began to return without fear to feed on the nice grasses growing there. Just by chanting or hearing these transcendental activities and pastimes of the brothers Krishna and Balaram, one can amass pious credits. Can we get a check on what the Dhenukasura demon represents?
Gross materialistic intelligence, ignorance of spiritual knowledge.
Gross materialistic intelligence, ignorance of spiritual knowledge, like a donkey. So that's what we're getting purified of by hearing this.
Torchlight of knowledge.
Yeah. There's a detail that the Acharyas described, that when the boys were asking to taste the fruit, they didn't actually care so much about that as they wanted to just see what would happen if Krishna would go there and deal with Dhenukasura. And there's another reason why Krishna didn't kill Dhenukasura, Balaram did. I don't remember what it is, but it had something to do with Dhenukasura's identity, that Krishna didn't feel it was appropriate for him to kill him, so he left him for Balaram. These are the kinds of details you find in the purports in the Bhagavatam. There's a lot of commentary by the Acharyas on the 10th canto, and there's a lot of detail, and those are the kinds of things that happen around this one. So something to look forward to. Be reading the Bhagavatam systematically, which we should. What else are you going to do with your life? I was hearing today, actually, if you read 8 pages of the Bhagavatam, you'll read the whole thing in 5 years. If you read 8 pages every day. I was like, you can be 5 years older in 5 years anyway. You may as well just read the whole Bhagavatam.
It's not really that bad.
It's not that bad.
Pages are not that much.
8 pages is totally doable.
Yeah.
If you read 41 pages, you can get it all done in 1 year. Just saying. So.
Yeah.
When Krishna and Balaram entered the village of Vrindavan along with their friends, they played their flutes, and the boys praised their uncommon activities in the forest. Their faces were decorated with tilaka and smeared with the dust raised by the cows, and Krishna's head was decorated with a peacock feather. Both he and Balaram played their flutes, and the young gopis were joyous to see Krishna returning home. All the gopis in Vrindavan remained very morose on account of Krishna's absence. All day they were thinking of Krishna in the forest or of him herding cows in the pasture. When they saw Krishna returning, all their anxieties were immediately relieved, and they began to look at his face the way drones hover over the honey of the lotus flower. Yeah, there it is. Drones. They're bees. When Krishna entered the village, the young gopis smiled and laughed. Krishna, while playing the flute, enjoyed the beautiful smiling faces of the gopis. Then Krishna and Balaram were immediately received by their affectionate mothers, Yashoda and Rohini, who, according to the time's demands, began to fulfill the desires of their affectionate sons. Simultaneously, the mothers rendered service and bestowed benediction upon their transcendental sons. They took care of their children by bathing them and dressing them very nicely. Krishna was dressed in yellowish garments and Balaram was dressed in bluish garments, and they were given all sorts of ornaments and flower garlands. Being relieved of the fatigue of their day's work in the pasturing ground, they looked refreshed and very beautiful. There's something in chat. Sundar says, have to drop off shortly for some Seva Bhakti Center. We'll catch up rest on recording. This is so uplifting right in the middle of the week. Yeah, I feel uplifted too. Hare Krishna.
Service. You were given palatable.
They were given palatable dishes by their mothers, and they pleasantly ate everything. After eating, they were seated nicely on clean bedding, and the mothers began to sing various songs of their activities. As soon as they lay down on the bedding, they very quickly fell fast asleep. In this way, Krishna and Balaram used to enjoy Vrindavan life as cowherd boys. Sometimes Krishna used to go with his boyfriends and Balaram, and sometimes he used to go alone with his friends to the bank of the Yamuna and tend the cows. Gradually, the summer season arrived, and one day, while in the field, the boys and cows became very thirsty and began to drink the water of the Yamuna. The river, however, had been made poisonous by the venom of the great serpent known as Kaliya. Dun, dun, dun. Because the water was so poisonous, the boys and cows became visibly affected immediately after drinking. They suddenly fell down on the ground, apparently dead. Then Krishna, who is the life of all that lives, simply cast his merciful glance over them, and all the boys and cows regained consciousness and began to look at one another with great astonishment. They could understand that by drinking the water of the Yamuna, they had died, and that the merciful glance of Krishna had restored their lives. Thus, they appreciated the mystic power of Krishna, who is known as Yogeshvara, the master of all mystic yogis. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 15th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Dhenukasura. Jai. Do we have any art from that chapter? And do we have any comments or questions or reflections? Here, I'll find it.
I don't know if we do actually. Let's move that farther.
Well, this one's relevant because this is Krishna and Balaram and the cows and boys walking into Vrindavan like they just did. That's the scene. And this is Krishna finishing off one of the demons in a donkey body. You can see the trees are littered with their corpses.
Oh.
Did we have this one last week? Brahma praying.
No, we didn't.
Trying to get in focus. Yeah, he's praying humbly at the lotus feet of Krishna, who's just sitting there with his food in his hand.
It's foreheads and foreheads.
Yep. And here is Krishna greeting his parents. You can see all the different rasas here. You see the boys immediately behind Krishna. The cow is in Shantaras. His parents are in Vatsalya. The gopis are in Madhurya. They're behind it. They're holding little snacks. They're all there.
Who's the servant?
The cow.
Oh, the cowherd boys.
The cows. Oh, Dasya? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's in Dasya? Someone's in Dasya. Reveling in the mercy of Krishna's glance. Yeah. Okay. If there's no comments, we can continue. Chapter 16, Subduing Kaliya. When he understood that the waters of the Yamuna were being polluted by the black serpent Kaliya, Lord Krishna took action against him and made him leave the Yamuna and go elsewhere. And thus the water became purified. When this story was being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit became eager to hear more about Krishna's childhood pastimes. He inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how Krishna chastised Kaliya, who had been living in the water for many years. Actually, Maharaj Parikshit was becoming more and more enthusiastic to hear the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and his inquiry was made with great interest. Shukadeva Goswami narrated the story as follows. Within the river Yamuna, there was a great lake, and in that lake, the black serpent Kaliya used to live. Because of his poison, the whole area was so contaminated that it emanated a poisonous vapor 24 hours a day. If a bird happened to even pass over the spot, it would immediately die and fall down into the water. Due to the poisonous effect of the Yamuna's vapors, the trees and grass near the bank of the Yamuna had all dried up. Lord Krishna saw the effect of the great serpent's poison. The whole river that ran before Vrindavan was now deadly. It's like Monsanto or something.
I know what the demon represents.
Yeah.
Brutality and treachery.
The Kaliya demon represents brutality and treachery.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna, who had vanted himself just to kill all undesirable elements in the world, immediately climbed up into a big kadamba tree on the bank of the Yamuna. The kadamba is a tree bearing round yellow flowers that is generally seen only in the Vrindavan area. After climbing to the top of the tree, he tightened his belt cloth and, slapping his arms just like a wrestler, jumped into the midst of the poisonous lake. The kadamba tree from which Krishna jumped was the only tree there which was not dead. Some commentators say that, due to being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, the tree immediately became alive. In some other Puranas, it is stated that Garuda, the eternal carrier of Vishnu, knew that Krishna would take this action in the future, and so he put some nectar on this tree to preserve it. When Lord Krishna jumped into the water, the river overflooded its banks to a distance of 100 yards, as if something very large had fallen into it. This exhibition of Krishna's strength is not at all uncommon, because he is a reservoir of all strength. Imagine Krishna slapping his arms like a wrestler, and you gotta imagine he's cannonballing.
Yeah.
I mean, 100-yard splash?
It's impressive.
That's wild, yeah. When Krishna was swimming about just like a great strong elephant, he made a tumultuous sound, which the great black serpent Kaliya could hear. The tumult was intolerable for him, and he could understand that this was an attempt to attack his home. Therefore, he immediately came before Krishna. Kaliya saw that Krishna was indeed worth seeing because his body was so beautiful and delicate. Its color resembled that of a cloud, and his feet resembled lotus flowers. He was decorated with Srivatsa, jewels, and yellow garments. He was smiling with a beautiful face and was playing in the river Yamuna with great strength. But in spite of Krishna's beautiful features, Kaliya felt great anger within his heart, and thus he grabbed Krishna with his mighty coils. Seeing the incredible way in which Krishna was enveloped in the coils of the serpent, the affectionate cowherd boys and other inhabitants of Vrindavan immediately became stunned out of fear. They had dedicated everything to Krishna, their lives, property, affection, activities. Everything was for Krishna. And when they saw him in that condition, they became overwhelmed with fear and fell down on the ground. All the cows, bulls, and small calves became overwhelmed with grief, and they began to look at him with great anxiety. Out of fear, they could only cry in agony and stand erect on the bank, unable to help their beloved Krishna. So in the Nectar of Devotion is described one of the sub-rasas, one of the secondary rasas, modes of connection with Krishna, emotional relating, is, I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit, it's like horror. This is an example of that. So when you see like the reflection of that is like how people kind of just enjoy being scared or going to a horror movie, or, you know, the way they kind of all rubberneck when they pass a car accident. Everyone slows down to look. It's just a reflection of this. This is the pure thing. They're all terrified for Krishna. They're all like, he's their life. He's everything for them. And he's being crushed by a gigantic water serpent. And they can't even move. They're stunned. But it's a form of like deepened Krishna consciousness in that impending loss, apparently, of Krishna. They're like so Krishna conscious. It's actually a kind of ecstasy. So this is the pure essence. This is how Stephen King is selling so many books. It's just a reflection of this pure horror. While this scene was taking place on the bank of the Yamuna, there were ill omens manifest. The earth trembled, meteors fell from the sky, and the left side of men's bodies shivered. All these are indications of great immediate danger. Observing the inauspicious signs, the cowherd men, including Maharaj Nanda, became very anxious out of fear. At the same time, they were informed that Krishna had gone to the pasturing ground without his elder brother Balaram. As soon as Nanda and Yashoda and the cowherd men heard this news, they became even more anxious. Out of their great affection for Krishna and being unaware of the extent of his potencies, they became overwhelmed with grief and anxiety because they had nothing dearer than Krishna, and because they had dedicated their everything, life, property, affection, mind, and activities to Krishna. Because of their great attachment for Krishna, they thought, today Krishna is surely going to be vanquished. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan came out of the village to see Krishna. The assembly consisted of children, old men, women, animals, and all living entities. They knew that Krishna was their only means of sustenance. While this was happening, Balaram, who is the master of all knowledge, stood there simply smiling. He knew how powerful his younger brother was and that there was no cause for anxiety when Krishna was fighting with an ordinary serpent of the material world. He did not therefore personally take any part in their sorrow. On the other hand, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, being disturbed, began to search out Krishna by following the impression of his footprints on the ground, and thus they moved hastily toward the bank of the Yamuna. Finally, by following the footprints marked with flag, bow, and conch shell, the inhabitants of Vrindavan arrived at the riverbank and saw that all the cows and boys were weeping to behold Krishna enwrapped in the coils of the black serpent. Then they became still more overwhelmed with grief. While Balaram was smiling to see their lamentation, all the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi merged into the ocean of grief because they thought that Krishna was finished. Although the residents of Vrindavan did not know much about Krishna, their love for him was beyond comparison. As soon as they saw that Krishna was in the river Yamuna, enveloped by the serpent Kaliya, and that all the boys and cows were lamenting, they simply began to think of Krishna's friendship, his smiling face, his sweet words, and his dealings with them. Thinking of all these and seeing that their Krishna was now within the clutches of Kaliya, they at once felt that the three worlds had become vacant. Lord Chaitanya also said that he was seeing the three worlds vacant for want of Krishna. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahenam. Shunya. It's all zero. Shunyaitam. Shunya means zero. This is the highest stage of Krishna consciousness. Almost all the inhabitants of Vrindavan had the highest ecstatic love for Krishna. You can see how that in this horror, they're like practically forced to think of Krishna more and more intensely.
Can I ask a question about this sort of like grieving?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, people say like grief is love with nowhere to go. So like in this sort of way of like these devotees and these cowherd boys, like they're already like grieving the impending loss of Krishna.
Yeah.
Is that like? Maybe it's more of a comment than I'm saying, of like seeing their anticipated grief without the action completed of Krishna truly, you know, meeting his end. I'm like curious about how much, like, is that the point of Krishna's consciousness where because their grief is so strong, it is a form of love?
Anything in relationship to Krishna is on the spiritual platform, particularly when there's a service attitude. These devotees already have pure love for Krishna, and as such, because the circumstances of this pastime are putting them in a situation where they fear that they're going to lose him and that he's in danger. That's the particular rasa that's coming out here. There are other rasas. It's not a primary rasa, it's a secondary rasa. So we see that basically all the primary rasas, his parents, his lovers, his friends, his servants, the cows, other neutral living entities, they're all experiencing this particular sub-rasa of horror in relationship to Krishna. Because of that impending, they're not actually going to lose him, but they don't know that. It's Leela. And Balaram is the only one who's really like smirking, you know? In fact, I think, well, I'll say it when we get there. Does that help? All right. Yeah.
Right, it's also like from a spiritual context with grief, the reason we experience grief even in the material world is because we all feel this deep loss of our parent connection with Krishna. And so it's like these smaller losses we experience are also the reminders of that deep yearning for the reconnection to Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah, to that I'll say, you know, the relationship with Krishna doesn't have an ending or a beginning.
Right.
And in the Leela of our relating with Krishna, there are these punctuation marks of like this feeling and that feeling. But what we experience in the material world of things having beginnings and endings, those things are material things. Material forms have beginnings and endings. The living entity behind the form doesn't end, right? Or maybe you're talking about inanimate matter, like a stone can crumble and disappear. But even that is also like physics explains it exists in some other form. And Bhagavatam explains that the external energy is just reclaiming, you know, earth goes to earth, water to water, and so forth, so forth. So it's a function of the material consciousness to experience endings at all. It's so foreign to the soul. So we can look at it that way.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where my question was coming from, of like, because they're so connected to this material experience of losing Krishna, like, are they not remembering that he will continue regardless, or that their relationship will continue? Like, I guess
Yeah.
that's the thing of like,
Well, I understand what you're saying by calling it material experience. It's not actually material because it's around Krishna, it's actually spiritual. But the idea that he could disappear and die is a material idea. Yeah, as Prabhupada pointed out, the residents of Vrindavan, their love for Krishna is characterized by practically a reckless abandon. They just love him. Their whole perspective is we don't even care who he is. We just love him so much. God, no God, it doesn't matter. He's our friend. He's our this, that. We just love him. And so they have him completely, and he belongs to them because their bhakti is that high. As we see at certain times, they actually do know these things, and when they speak from that place, they speak like the most elevated sages, but they're not generally in that consciousness, right? So, like, that's not what they're sitting with. They're not sitting consciously with the realization, because that wouldn't allow the pastime to, like Balaram is just sitting there like, all right, Krishna, you know, my brother, look at this guy. You know, it's a different kind of thing.
right.
And they're all in that whole thing of we're gonna lose him. And actually Krishna is also in it too. He's immersed in the Leela. And it's described that the Lila Shakti, the Yoga Maya energy, is what facilitates this. So it's that division between Tattva and Rasa. Tattva is that nobody can harm Krishna. You can't even approach him. You know, Mother Yashoda couldn't even get a rope around him. That's Tattva. But the Rasa is, she does get a rope around him because she loves him and he's her boy. And the Rasa is that, oh my God, he's going to die. When Mother Yashoda arrived, she wanted to enter the river Yamuna, and being checked, she fainted. Her friends, who were equally aggrieved, were shedding tears like torrents of rain or waves of the river. But in order to bring Mother Yashoda to consciousness, they began to speak loudly about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Mother Yashoda remained still as if dead, because her consciousness was concentrated on the face of Krishna. Nanda and all the other cowherd men, who had dedicated everything, including their lives, to Krishna, were ready to enter the waters of the Yamuna, but Lord Balaram checked them, because he was in perfect knowledge that there was no danger. For 2 hours, Krishna remained like an ordinary child, gripped in the coils of Kaliya. But when he saw that all the inhabitants of Gokula, including his mother and father, the gopis, the boys, and the cows, were just on the point of death, and that they had no shelter for salvation from imminent death, Krishna immediately freed himself. So, as an aside, it's described that Balaram, he starts to feel a little angry with Krishna at this point. He's like, you're going to kill them. He's just squeezing all the rust out of the situation as possible. They're fine, but it's intense.
I feel like Krishna's being a little dramatic in Balaram's eyes.
Yeah, Krishna's being very dramatic here. Krishna immediately freed himself. He began to expand his body, and when the serpent tried to hold him, he felt a great strain. On account of the strain, his coils slackened, and he had no alternative but to let loose the personality of Godhead, Krishna, from his grasp. Kaliya then became very angry, and his great hoods expanded. He exhaled poisonous fumes from his nostrils. His eyes blazed like fire, and flames issued from his mouth. The great serpent remained still for some time, looking at Krishna. Licking his lips with bifurcated tongues, the serpent looked at Krishna with double hoods, and his eyesight was full of poison. Krishna immediately pounced upon him, just as Garuda swoops upon a snake. Thus attacked, Kaliya looked for an opportunity to bite him, but Krishna moved around him. As Krishna and Kaliya moved in a circle, the serpent gradually became fatigued, and his strength seemed to diminish considerably. Krishna immediately pressed down the serpent's hoods and jumped up on them. The Lord's lotus feet became tinged with red from the rays of the jewels on the snake's hoods. Then he, who is the original artist of all fine arts, such as dancing, began to dance upon the hoods of the serpent, although they were moving to and fro. Upon seeing this, the denizens of the upper planets showered flowers, beat drums, played different types of flutes, and sang various prayers and songs. In this way, all the denizens of heaven, such as the Gandharva, Siddhas, and demigods, became very pleased. While Krishna was dancing on his hoods, Kaliya tried to push him down with some of his other hoods. Kaliya had about 100 hoods, but Krishna took control of them. He began to dash Kaliya with his lotus feet, and this was more than the serpent could bear. Gradually, Kaliya was reduced to struggling for his very life. He vomited all kinds of refuse and exhaled fire. While throwing up poisonous material from within, Kaliya became reduced in his sinful situation. He's getting purified. Out of great anger, he began to struggle for existence and tried to raise one of his hoods to kill the Lord. The Lord immediately captured that hood and subdued it by kicking it and dancing on it. It actually appeared as if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, was being worshipped. The poisons emanating from the mouth of the serpent appeared to be like flower offerings. Kaliya then began to vomit blood instead of poison. He was completely fatigued. His whole body appeared to be broken by the kicks of the Lord. Within his mind, however, he finally began to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he surrendered unto him. He realized that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the master of everything. The wives of the serpents, known as the Nagapatnis, saw that their husband had been subdued by the Lord's kicking and that he was almost at the point of death due to bearing the heavy burden of the Lord, within whose abdomen the whole universe remains. Kaliya's wives prepared to worship the Lord, and in their haste, their clothes, hair, and ornaments became disarrayed. They also surrendered unto the Supreme Lord and began to pray. They appeared before him, put forward their offspring, and anxiously offered respectful obeisances, falling down on the bank of the Yamuna. The Nagapatnis knew that Krishna is the shelter of all surrendered souls, and they desired to release their husband from the impending danger by pleasing the Lord with their prayers. The Nagapatnis began to offer their prayers as follows. O dear Lord, you are equal to everyone. For you there is no distinction between your sons, friends, or enemies. Therefore, the punishment which you have so kindly offered to Kaliya is exactly befitting. O Lord, you have descended especially for the purpose of annihilating all kinds of disturbing elements within the world. And because you are the absolute truth, there is no difference between your mercy and your punishment. We think, therefore, that this apparent punishment of Kaliya is actually some benediction. We consider that your benediction is your great mercy upon us because when you punish someone, it is to be understood that the reactions of his sinful activities are eradicated. It is already clear that this creature appearing in the body of a serpent must have been overburdened with all kinds of sin. Otherwise, how could he have the body of a serpent? Your dancing on his hoods has reduced all the sinful results of actions caused by his having this body of a serpent. It is therefore very auspicious that you become angry and have punished him in this way. We are very much astonished to see how you have become so pleased with this serpent, who evidently performed various religious activities in his past lives that pleased everyone. He must have undergone all kinds of penances and austerities, humbly honored others, and executed universal welfare activities for all living creatures. Get some more water.
Mm-hmm.
The Nagapatnis confirm that one cannot come in contact with Krishna without having executed pious activities in devotional service in his previous lives. As Lord Chaitanya advised in his Shikshashtaka, one has to execute devotional service by humbly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, and not expecting honor for himself, but offering all kinds of honor to others. The Nagapatnis were astonished that, although Kali had the body of a serpent, as a result of grievous sinful activities, at the same time he was in contact with the Lord to the extent that the Lord's lotus feet were touching his hoods. Certainly this was not the ordinary result of pious activities. These two contradictory facts astonished them. Thus they continued to pray, "Oh, dear Lord, we are simply astonished to see that he is so fortunate as to have the dust of your lotus feet on his head. This is a fortune sought after by great saintly persons. Even the goddess of fortune underwent severe austerities just to have the blessing of the dust of your lotus feet. So how is it that Kaliya is so easily getting this dust on his head? We have heard from authoritative sources that those who are blessed with the dust of your lotus feet do not care even for the highest post within the universe, namely the post of Lord Brahma, or the kingship of the heavenly planets, or the sovereignty of this planet. Nor do such persons desire to rule the planets above this earth, such as Siddhaloka, nor do they aspire for the mystic powers achieved by the yoga process, nor do the pure devotees aspire for liberation by becoming one with you. My Lord, although he is born in a species of life which is fostered by the most abominable mode of material nature, accompanied with the quality of anger, this king of the serpents has achieved something very, very rare. Living entities who are wandering within this universe in different species of life can very easily achieve the greatest benediction only by your mercy. It is confirmed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The living entities wandering within the universe in various species of life can get the seed of devotional service by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, and thus their path of liberation can be cleared. The Nagapatnis continued, "We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, our dear Lord, because you are the Supreme Person, who are living as the Supersoul within every living entity. Although you are transcendental to the cosmic manifestation, everything is resting in you. You are the personified, indefatigable, eternal time. Indefatigable, eternal time. The entire time force is existing in you. And you are therefore the seer and the embodiment of total time in the shape of past, present, and future, month, day, hour, moment, everything. In other words, O Lord, you can see perfectly all the activities happening in every moment, in every hour, in every day, in every month, in every year, past, present, and future. You are yourself the universal form, and yet you are different from this universe. You are simultaneously one with and different from the universe. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you." So you see, again, when the devotees offer prayers, they begin with tattva. This is all tattva. We've talked a little bit about the purpose of rasa. That was pretty hot. The rasa in the prayers, the rasa between the devotees and Krishna, there's a relishing of the relationship, the tattva also has a purpose. Tattva, it puts everything in its place. When you hear tattva, we become detached from our false ego, detached from the idea. As Prabhupada puts it, the long cherished idea that we can be the owner and controller, master and enjoyer of the material energy in any way, shape, or form. Because that couldn't possibly make any sense in the light of what we're hearing. For example, they continue. You are yourself the whole universe, and yet you are the creator of the whole universe. You are the superintendent and maintainer of this whole universe, and you are its original cause. Although you are present within this universe, by your three qualitative incarnations, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara, you are transcendental to the material creation. Although you are the cause of the appearance of all kinds of living entities, their senses, their lives, their minds, their intelligence, you are to be realized by your internal energy. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, who are unlimited, finer than the finest, the center of all creation, and the knower of everything. Different varieties of philosophical speculators try to reach you. You are the ultimate goal of all philosophical efforts, and it is actually only you who are described by all philosophies and by different kinds of doctrines. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the origin of all scripture and the source of knowledge. You are the root of all evidences, and you are the supreme person who can bestow upon us the supreme knowledge. You are the cause of all kinds of desires, and you are the cause of all kinds of satisfaction. You are the Vedas personified. Therefore, we offer you our respectful obeisances. Our dear Lord, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, and you are also the supreme enjoyer. You have now appeared as the son of Vasudeva, who is a manifestation of the state of pure goodness. You are the predominating deities of mind and intelligence, Aniruddha and Pradyumna, and you are the Lord of all Vaishnavas. By your expansion as the Chaturvyuha, namely Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna, you are the cause of the development of mind and intelligence. By your activities only, the living entities become covered by forgetfulness or discover their real identity. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. The Lord is sitting as a supersoul in everyone's heart, and due to his appearance, due to his presence, the living entity either forgets himself or revives his original identity. We can partially understand that you are within our hearts as a witness of all our activities, but it is very difficult to appreciate your presence, although every one of us can do so to some extent. It's described that the Krishna consciousness, for example, of animals is to experience the Lord in the form of food. Right? Living entities are very attracted to whatever they can eat, whatever they can experience with their senses, like their object of mating or of eating. So that's their Krishna consciousness. That's what they're capable of in that particular covered state of existence. It is very difficult to appreciate your presence, although every one of us can do so to some extent. You are the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual energies. Therefore, you are the supreme leader, although you are different from this cosmic manifestation. You are the witness and creator and the very ingredient of this cosmic manifestation. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Our dear Lord, in the matter of creating this cosmic manifestation, personally, you have nothing to exert. By expanding your different kinds of energy, namely the mode of passion, the mode of goodness, and the mode of ignorance, you create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation. As the controller of the entire time force, you simply glance over the material energy, thereby creating this universe and energizing the different modes of material nature, which act differently in different creatures. No one can estimate, therefore, how your activities are going on within this world. Our dear Lord, although you have expanded it to the three principal deities of this universe, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, for creation, maintenance, and destruction, your appearance as Lord Vishnu is actually from the benediction of living creatures. Therefore, for those who are actually peaceful and who are aspiring after the supreme peace, worship of your peaceful appearance as Lord Vishnu is recommended. O Lord, we are submitting our prayers unto you. You can appreciate that this poor serpent is going to give up his life. You know that for us women, our husband is our life and everything. Therefore, we are praying unto you that you kindly excuse Kaliya, our husband, because if this serpent dies, then we shall be in great difficulty. Looking upon us only, please excuse this great offender. Our dear Lord, every living creature is your offspring, and you maintain everyone. This serpent is also your offspring, and you can excuse him once, although he has offended you. Undoubtedly without knowing your supremacy. We are praying that he may be excused this time. Our dear Lord, we are offering our loving service unto you because we are all eternal servitors of your lordship. You can order us to do whatever you please. Every living being can be relieved from all kinds of despair if he agrees to abide by your orders. After the Nagapatnis submitted their prayers, Lord Krishna released Kaliya from his punishment. Kaliya was already unconscious from being struck by the Lord. Upon regaining consciousness and being released from the punishment, Kaliya got back his life force and the working power of his senses. With folded hands, he humbly began to pray to the Supreme Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, I have been born in such a species that by nature I am angry and envious, being in the darkest region of the mode of ignorance. Your lordship knows well that it is very difficult to give up one's natural instincts, although by such instincts the living creature transmigrates from one body to another. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature, but if anyone surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the modes of material nature can no longer act on him. That's 7:14. My dear Lord, Kaliya continued, you are the original creator of the modes of material nature by which the universe is created. You are the cause of the different kinds of mentality possessed by living creatures, by which they have obtained different varieties of bodies. My dear Lord, I am born as a serpent. Therefore, by natural instinct, I am very angry. How is it then possible to give up my acquired nature without your mercy? It is very difficult to get out of the clutches of your Maya. By your Maya, we remain enslaved. My dear Lord, kindly excuse me for my inevitable material tendencies. I surrender unto you. Now you can punish me or save me as you desire. After hearing this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was acting as a small human child, ordered the serpent thus, you must immediately leave this place and go to the ocean. Leave without delay. You can take with you all your offspring, wives, and everything that you possess. Don't pollute the waters of the Yamuna. Let it be drunk by my cows and cowherd boys without hindrance. The Lord then declared that the order given to the Kaliya snake be recited and heard by everyone, so that no one need fear Kaliya any longer. Anyone who hears the narration of the Kaliya serpent and his punishment will need fear no more the envious activities of snakes. The Lord also declared, if one takes a bath in the Kaliya lake, where my cowherd boyfriends and I have bathed, or if one fasts for a day and offers oblations to the forefathers from the waters of this lake, he will be relieved from all kinds of sinful reactions. The Lord also assured Kaliya, you came here out of fear of Garuda, who wanted to eat you in the beautiful land by the ocean. Now, after seeing the marks where I have touched your head with my lotus feet, Garuda will not disturb you. The Lord was pleased with Kaliya and his wives. Immediately after hearing his order, the snake and his wives began to worship him with great offerings of nice garments, flowers, garlands, jewels, ornaments, sandal pulp, lotus flowers, and nice eatable fruits. In this way, they pleased the master of Garuda, of whom they were very much afraid. Then, obeying the orders of Lord Krishna, all of them left the lake within the Yamuna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 16th chapter of Krishna, subduing Kaliya. Jai. Okay. Anything stand out?
I feel like I was thinking a lot about how Kalia and like his poison represents negativity in one's life. And just like thinking about people who are like really negative and just like how that can like suck in lots of other people and it can like really like it's like a black shadow that can like really overcast. And so and even if like it happens, like, you know, things get hard at work or whatever it is, like you can get into these like little negative loops that like it's like ultimately devotion and like coming back to practices that can like dispel that in one's life. And I just thought that was like really kind of neat to think about it in that perspective as I was reading along with you. Just
Yeah. I mean, just flying overhead, any bird that happened over that spot was getting killed. It was just too noxious. So sometimes it do be like that. But you just take shelter of Krishna, like the boys did. They were actually killed. They actually died.
Ooh.
The boys, when they drank the water
Oh.
and the cows.
Came back to life.
Krishna just looked at them. Yeah. What did Kali represent? Brutality?
Brutality and treachery.
Brutality and treachery. And pollution of the environment.
Mental and external,
Yeah.
internal and external environment, like what Mel's saying.
It's like a
Criticism and
nuclear
Mhm.
meltdown, acid rain,
mhm,
toxic runoff,
gossip.
gossip, all that junk.
Mhm.
Notably, when Krishna was dancing on his hoods, Kali started to vomit fire and poison. He was full of all that poison. But when Krishna was dancing on him, he was getting purified by his lotus feet. All that poison came out.
You know, it's interesting how you were like, he's getting purified. And I was thinking about how many of us have been purified in Vrindavan.
Oh, when he gets sick in Vrindavan? Yeah. It's really special.
It's really special.
No, everything in Vrindavan is
It's
really special.
unforgettable.
Everything in Vrindavan is really special. Everything in Bhakti is really special.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just get pounded and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening? And then afterwards you can see that something has been removed, some burden in the heart. It does happen. Yeah. Any other reflections or comments or questions before we move?
So I have a thing that's just, it's not really I guess it is a question. So a couple times in the reading so far, it's been stated that everyone present, like the gopis and the families and the people of Vrindavan, are joyous reading the pastimes of Krishna. Yet they're living the pastimes of Krishna currently. So help me understand that. They're in it, but they're also reading about it like it happened before their existence, but they're with him currently. It's like the funhouse mirror that never ends. Like, help me understand that.
I don't think there's technically a mention of them reading. It's recitation. What we find is that whenever, like in that picture where I showed you of Krishna and Balaram walking with the cows and boys back to the village, every time that happens, the boys are singing about what he did during the day. And everyone who's in the village who wasn't there, they're hearing about it. And at night, they're singing about it. And the mothers are singing songs about Krishna and the boys.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a running narration because he's just so cool and so lovable that this happened today and this happened last year. Remember that time we lifted Govardhan Hill? And how about that time he killed the giant stork demon? Like there's all this all the time. It's not about a book. It's just about the running narration of his pastimes and how even in Vrindavan, when he's there, they're still talking about him. We'll just speak when he's not there. You know, if he leaves or he goes to take care of the calves and his, Radharani and the gopis miss him. What do? They're singing about him. Madhya Yashoda's singing about him, right? So
Yeah, that makes way more sense. So
the culture of bhakti. And kirtan never stops. In Vrindavan, the kirtan never stops.
Like the transcendental version of when you get together with old friends and you're like, remember when that happened? Remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? Yeah.
All right, thank you. That helps.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. We had a picture of this in the temple in Denver. This is Krishna dancing on Kaliya. He's so dramatic. It's described that he
Don't close it. I always have to finding it.
he was kind of showing off a little bit for his paramours on the shore. He's like showing off, how guys can be a little bit like, check it out. I don't know, also. He's having a little bit of that kind of, slapping his arms, jumping, and he's dramatic. There's a lot of like rasa there. So at that particular point when he's dancing on Kaliya's hoods, it's described he was showing off to some degree to his girlfriends. Because he's dancing on top of a giant serpent. Like, how cool is that?
I mean, he's dancing, but he kind of beats him unconscious.
Both, yes. He's saying it's a dynamic dance where there's no ground. There's 100 different hoods trying to kill him, and he's moving over them in the most beautiful way, and he's purifying him. and he's elevating him, and he's reciprocating with the Nagapatnis, who are his wives, who are actually devotees, and he's impressing his girlfriends, and he's like bringing everybody back to life. So all these things are happening at the same time. So yes,
A dynamic dance floor.
it's very dynamic.
A dynamic demon dance floor.
I'm trying to think about how to like extrapolate this into sort of a real world situation. So like, you know, I've got a serpent of sorts at work, who is taking every opportunity to lash out, right? And I can't dance on his head. I can't really fix his karma, nor is that my job.
Right.
But I am trying to figure out like how to support this person through whatever they're going through and maybe try to redirect. And it's a little hard for me to wrap my head around like how to bring this down sort of to the present. And if that makes sense.
Well, I will say the first thing is just by hearing this, you're getting purified. And by you getting purified and uplifted, that has an ineffable effect on everyone and everything around you. And the Bible says God helps those who help themselves, right? It's the same principle. Like Prabhupada said, in quoting the Bible, said, the Bible says God helps those who help themselves, and helping yourself means putting yourself in front of transcendental sound vibration. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, yeah, we can't imitate Krishna. That's not our job. That's not within our scope of possibilities. It's never going to happen. But if you look at the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, I mean, Srila Prabhupada called prasadam the secret weapon of Krishna. You can just like bring some food to work that is simple food you can offer to Krishna, but is delicious, like cookies, something that you know they'll like, and just have everybody help themselves to some cookies that have been offered to Krishna. And you don't have to say anything. They get purified by that. They take them in, they take Krishna inside their body, and they get uplifted and purified by that. And I mean, it depends on the person. It depends how much you know them, what your relationship, can you listen to them? Can you hold space? Can you like, are you competent to actually like try to help them manage their mood or mode? Is that at all, possible? And Jiva Goswami said that if a devotee meets somebody who is just very inimical, then their mercy is exhibited by giving them space and praying for them from a distance. That's also mercy. Because if a Vaishnava who's so dear to Krishna, somebody who's trying to be of service, just like spares thought for other people who are suffering, you got to understand that Krishna will turn his attention to them too. It's like thinking, oh, this person is really miserable. They're really burdened by these poisonous things. I really wish that they could be relieved of that and that Krishna could manifest in their heart. And like, these are all devotional desires, actually. These are pure desires to have. So you can think that way and you can pray that way. It's also a thing you can do.
Yeah, Shami, I was thinking about how somewhere in here it said anyone who hears this
Doesn't have to fear snakes.
doesn't have to fear snakes. And so then when Erin asked that question, it's like, and she said, I have a serpent per se in my life. I was thinking about, putting myself in front of transcendental knowledge, hearing this. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be afraid of like a snake on the trail. Cause I was thinking Madhu's really afraid of snakes and he's heard this a lot. Like I was thinking that. However, if I can become less affected by that serpent at work,
Right.
or like not take it so personally, or like have their energy or whatever it is, and that kind of deflects off of me, or like you just said, come to a place where I actually just pray for them and wish them well. Then in that way, doesn't mean I have to like the snake, but I don't have to fear the snake.
Yeah. Fear, the fear or the aversion or whatever is due to illusion. When we become more Krishna conscious, then we can actually have compassion. It's not possible to have real compassion for anybody if you're not actually on the spiritual platform, because what are you having compassion for, right? It's like you can have some material compassion for their material situation, but if you really see,
More like pity.
yeah, if you really see though, this is a living entity. This person belongs to Krishna, and all this stuff they're going through is external. Then you can actually experience compassion for them. You can have compassion for yourself, first of all, right? And then you can have compassion for other people. But I can tell you one thing we could do. We can all of us chant one Maha Mantra for your your person at work and anyone else who knows anybody who is suffering and you don't know what to do about it, you can put them in your heart. We're going to chant one Maha Mantra together. Ready? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki Jai. Unbelievably, it's about that time. Are there any more questions or comments?
So hopefully a quick question.
Yeah.
But whatever, doesn't get answered in the chat. I must have glazed over this, but now it's coming back to me. The Lord's lotus feet became tinged with red from the rays of the jewels on the snake's hoods. Is that why we see, like, why Mahaprabhu has red feet? Or is that completely separate?
They're already red. Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and Radharani and basically all auspicious personalities, they have certain bodily features that are described in Shastra. They all happen to have reddish palms and soles of their feet. They always did from birth. But Krishna's feet became more and more red by contact with those. There's jewels in the hoods of all the serpents of Kaliya. And by the contact with those jewels, Krishna's feet were getting reddened, it's described. Isn't that what it said? Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Perhaps they're luminous.
There were a few questions asked during garland making, like, does Krishna have a favorite flower?
A favorite flower. He's very fond of the Kadamba flower.
Like I mentioned in this.
The Kadamba tree is the one that he jumped off, the cannonballed off into the Yamuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that spot is actually is available in Vrindavan. We know where it is, where he jumped off of. There's a tree there. We're not sure if it's the same tree. Probably not. Maybe another tree that grew on the same spot, but there's a temple there and a tree there. Lord Chaitanya actually, when he went to Vrindavan, sat under that tree and chanted japa every day until noon when he was on pilgrimage in Vrindavan, because it's a spot that's like known by the locals. The Yamuna, if you see the Yamuna now, it's like 100 yards away from that spot. It's moved a little bit, but then it was like right there. He jumped on in, clapping his arms like a wrestler.
Oh yeah, and the other one was, what does Vaisheshika mean?
Vaisheshika.
Yeah.
Vishesha means variety. Like nirvishesha, impersonalism, that means no variety. Vishesha means variety. So Vaisheshika means it's of or pertaining to variety. So depends on the context. There's actually an impersonal philosophy known as Vaisheshic philosophy. In the devotional context, they would refer to spiritual variety. Spiritual variety. Yeah. Prabhupada said variety is the spice of life. And Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of flavors. So that's why everybody's a little different. Variety. Nothing's the same. All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, Hare Krishna. We got through chapter 15 and 16. And we're going to hear about Krishna subduing a forest fire, and the backstory of the Kaliya demon, I think, is coming up. So you can read 15 and 16. You can read ahead also, 17 if you like, and please comment in the WhatsApp. It's so enlivening for everybody, just whatever stands out. Thank you so much for your attentive ears and your questions and reflections, and for trying to apply these narrations into your life. And dear Srila Prabhupada, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Harinam Prabhu, Shri Radha Govinda, please enter our hearts and remain there, and help all who come in contact with us to knowingly or unknowingly come closer to your lotus feet. Thank you for considering our request. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Hare Bol. Okay. Have a great week, everyone.